Hi there, welcome back. This is the second video in our 7-part series as we look at the question, are you in the right job? My name is Roland, and in today's video, we're going to start the process of finding out if you're in the right job and what God's plans might be for you by looking back. That's right, we're going to find our way forward by first looking back. Getting some perspective is an important first step, and so today, let's look back. Whatever job you're in, there's a reason you accepted that job. And now, as a first step to seeing where God might be leading you to, let's look back to see how you got to where you are. If I go back to my first job out of college, I was presented with a number of opportunities as a young engineer. One of them was a continuation of a summer job that I held before, at a big company where I already knew the people and they already knew me. Although I'd worked there only a few months, the project I did saved the company quite a lot of money and must have made a good impression because they were pretty eager to have me back. They made me a nice offer. I think it might even have been the offer that I received with the highest pay. But I chose something else. I chose a similar job, also an engineering job, but in a different location, with a smaller company and with people that I didn't know. But that company offered an interesting twist for me. The job that they offered would start locally and then would involve me moving from Canada to the United States for about a year and then coming back. That meant uprooting my family. We had 2 kids at the time, and leaving my grandparents, my parents and her parents, and friends behind. However, despite the uprooting and the uncertainty, I felt it was the right thing to do, to move away and make a fresh start in a new place. And here's why. I wanted a place where I might get reconnected to church and reawaken my faith. You see, in the years before when we were in school, we kind of dropped out of the church scene and grew dormant in our faith. You've maybe been there yourself. With little kids, a toddler, a baby, school workload, it just seemed like too much hassle. Besides, none of our friends and neighbors were going to church, so we just kind of dropped out. Now along comes a time to make a job choice, and so I was led to make a choice that would help me re-engage with God. And do you know what? It worked. Once I started the job and moved to a new place, we reconnected with church. And we got a circle of Christian friends to re-engage with God in that way too. Do you see how my job choice really had more to do with my Christian walk and my relationship with God than anything at all about the company or the work? In the real world, we're led to believe that our work choices should be all about opportunity, security, advancement, pay, etc., to find the best job with the right company. But that's not really what life, and therefore by extension, what our work choices are all about, is it? Now my example might be a bit extreme, and maybe you haven't made any of your choices in the same way, and that's good. But I'm here today to challenge you to think more broadly about your next job, or staying in your current job, than just think about the work itself. In particular, today we want to look back at why you took that job which you're now in. Knowing why you took that job in the first place will give an important perspective on what to do next. For me, in my first job, I took it so I could get reconnected with God. So a few years later, when the opportunity came up to leave the job and go back to school with a scholarship, it didn't take long for me to figure out that leaving would be just okay. After all, my motivation, my challenge for taking the job was to get back to church and draw closer to God. And with that reason, with that goal fulfilled, I was absolutely free to move on to another job if the opportunity presented itself. And it did. But how about you? When you accepted the job that you're now in, what was the reason to do so? Did you feel that God had a specific plan for you in that job? And if so, have you accomplished that plan already? Think about it. And as you think about it, here's another example that you might find helpful. Along the way, in one of the small but growing companies I worked for, we one day hired a full-time salesperson. Let's call him Rob. That's not his real name, but we'll call him Rob. Rob was slightly more senior than the rest of us at the company, so maybe a little bit overqualified, but he joined for the growth opportunity and not just the job of the day. With us and our little growing company, He had the chance to build his own sales team over time and really succeed. He was excited to join. Well, a year or two later, the owners, the senior people in the company, decided to sell out to a bigger company. As it goes with these things, the details took some time and there was a good deal of uncertainty in how things would end up. In particular, it was not at all clear whether our company would lead on the technical side of the new merged entity or whether teams from the other company would lead. Same for sales. Would they lead or would we lead? Well, our friend Rob thought it wasn't going to end well. And he didn't want to hang around just waiting for the dust to settle. So a month or so before the conclusion came out, he jumped and went to a competitor company and was gone. Unfortunately for him, what he didn't know might have changed his mind. Apparently, top management on both sides had plans for Rob to lead and build the sales team for the combined entity. But now Rob had left just a few weeks before, so they had to find somebody else. Rob's mistake? His lack of patience and forgetting the reason why he joined, that he had come to build a sales team. And that meant he missed out on the best opportunity of his entire career. All because he jumped too soon. As you consider a new job, be sure to remember why you came. And don't jump too soon. As you think about your situation, reflect on this verse from Proverbs 16, verse 9. This is the King James Version. A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Just like the example where management had a plan for Rob he didn't know about, God has a plan for you, even for your working life. Sometimes we just need extra patience or wisdom to see it. With that background, here's a couple more examples, this time from the Bible, and then we'll close. You remember the story of Joseph, the one with the multicolored coat in the Bible? You can find it in Genesis chapters 37 to 45. Joseph certainly had his ups and downs in his working life, didn't he? He started in a pit, literally, sold as a slave, worked as a manager after some time, and then spent 10 years or more in jail for something he didn't do, all before he eventually ended up as second in command over the whole country of Egypt. Wow. And what about King David of the Old Testament? Well, you might know he was anointed as king while he was still just a teenager, 15 years old. But did you know that he had to wait 15 more years until he actually started that job, and then he was ruling only over Judah? And then he had to wait 7 more years before he became king over all of Israel. And of course, you know about his bad boss, right? Worse than being fired or demoted, his boss, King Saul, tried to kill David along the way, didn't he? You can read about this in 1 Samuel 16 through to 2 Samuel chapter 5. So, remember these examples of Rob, Joseph, and David, especially when you feel stuck in whatever job you now hold. And know that God's plan will prevail even as you wait. So to get some perspective, by looking back, don't just run off after something new before the time is right, but look back, remember why you joined, and see if that reason has been fulfilled. Be careful about leaving the company, leaving the job you're in. The career graveyard and the list of God's unfulfilled plans is filled with premature departures, just like Rob. Don't be like that. To help you think about these things relative to your situation and how you started and if the reason for you joining in your current job is fulfilled yet, download the one-page handout via the link provided in the description to this video. Take some time to work through it. It won't take long. Think about the questions that are there. You'll be glad you did. And then come back and join me again in the next session. Be blessed. Thanks.